I woke up suddenly, my body wet with sweat, breathing hard like I had just run a long race. The bad dream had come again. It always does, at least once every week. I sat up in bed, rubbing my head, trying to chase away the horrible images that haunted my sleep. I am 28 years old now, but some painful memories never go away. As the cool night wind blew through my window, my mind went back to how everything started, 14 years ago. I was just a young secondary school boy then, trying to understand life as a teenager. James had been my best friend since primary school. We did everything together, played football, shared lunch, and walked home after school. He was smart, funny, and always knew how to make me laugh. His father was rich, and he always had the latest toys and games. Then I would always go to his house to play video games after school. Even our parents knew each other very well. Everyone said we were like brothers from different parents. But things began to change when we got to SS2. At first, James started wearing expensive watches to school. He started hanging out with a different group of boys. They were the ones everyone feared. Older students who bullied others and broke school rules. These boys moved around school like they owned it. At first, James still spent time with me, but he was different. He talked about his new friends all the time, about how they were like brothers who looked out for each other. Bina, James said one day while we played a game at his place one afternoon. These guys are not bad, like everyone thinks. They're actually very good people. They help each other with homework, share food, and protect their members from bullies. I shook my head, remembering how these same boys had collected money from a junior student just yesterday. I don't know, James. My parents say I should stay away from those boys. And didn't they beat Chidi from SS1 last week? Well, that's because you don't understand how it works. Look at me. Have I changed? Am I a bad person now? Well, I had to admit that James still seemed like the same good friend I knew. He was still kind to me. Just come to one meeting, he begged. If you don't like it, you can leave, no pressure. Just trust me. I should have said no. Every voice in my head was screaming to refuse, but James was my best friend, and I trusted him. The meeting was held in an empty classroom after school. James had told me to tell my parents I was staying late from extra mathematics lesson. It was my first time to lie, and the guilt plagued me for a while. There were about 10 boys there, all sitting in a circle. Some I recognized as the tough boys from senior classes, but they didn't look scary now. They welcomed me warmly, offered me snacks, and talked about normal things like football and music. The leader, a tall boy named Michael, spoke about brotherhood, protection, and success. He sat at the teacher's desk, looking powerful and confident. James nodded, tapping my shoulder. It sounded good, too good to be true. But looking at James' smiling face and seeing how these tough boys treated each other like brothers, I started to believe. I started attending more meetings. They made me feel special, like I was part of something important. But slowly, things changed. The task started small, from carrying messages between members, keeping watch while they had secret meetings, lying to teachers about where certain students were. I told myself it wasn't wrong, since they were my brothers after all. At home, I was still the good son. I did my chores, said my prayers, and got good grades. But inside, I was changing. The voices in my head got louder, especially at night. Sometimes I would wake up hearing whispers or seeing shadows moving in my room. Strange marks would appear on my skin, then disappear by morning. It's normal, James assured me when I told him. It means you're getting stronger. The real horror started when they gave me the mirror. It was small, with strange marks carved around its edges. Michael handed it to me during a special meeting where they made us drink something that tasted bitter and made my head spin. We have a problem, he said, his voice harder than usual. Mrs. Adebayo has been asking too many questions about our activities. She's planning to report us to the principal. Miss Adebayo was our English teacher. She was kind and always helped students who were struggling. She had caught some cult members bullying a junior student last week. What do you want me to do? I asked, although I already knew the answer. My heart felt heavy in my chest. Use the mirror, Michael said, his eyes cold. James will teach you how. It's time to prove your loyalty to the brotherhood. That night, James came to my house. In my room, he showed me how to hold the mirror, taught me the words to say. It won't hurt her, he lied, not meeting my eyes. It would just make her forget what she saw. But I had doubts, as I had heard stories about teachers who crossed the cult in the past. They either died in strange accidents or went mad. One teacher had driven his client to a ditch last year after he caught cult members cheating on exams. Another had started behaving strange and had to stop teaching. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about Miss Adebayo's kind smile, how she always encouraged us to be better people. Finally, at midnight, I picked it up. My hands were shaking as I lit the candle James had given me. It was a black candle, and the flame burned with a strange bluish color. Immediately, I heard a knock on the door. My heart sank. I forgot that my parents had not come to have their irregular night chat with me before I slept, and it was their culture to open the door if they don't get a reply after the fifth knock. I can't even explain how I was able to clear everything before the fifth knock, but they sure knew something was fishy, as I was sweating and my dad had to constantly stop me from shaking my legs. Immediately they left, I rearranged and continued, my hands and body vibrating all through. I said the words, holding the mirror at the angle James had shown me. Then the glass began to glow with a sickly green light. Mrs. Adebayo's face finally appeared. My own reflection looked back at me. It wasn't really me anymore. The face in the mirror looked cruel and evil. As I started to say the final words, Mrs. Adebayo appeared, but the mirror dropped from my hands, cracking on the floor. Then a sharp pain shot through my chest, making me fall to my knees. It felt like something was trying to tear my heart out. I heard angry whispers in the darkness, felt cold hands grabbing at me. When the pain finally passed, I knew I couldn't do it. I couldn't hurt an innocent person, no matter what the consequences were. No brotherhood was worth the price of someone's life. But I knew this decision would attract threats and punishment from the brotherhood. So I ran away. Next morning, I packed a bag and told my parents I needed to visit my uncle in another town. They were surprised, but agreed when I said it was important. I left before James or anyone else could find me. It was the hardest decision I had ever made, leaving my family and school behind, but I knew it was the only way to survive. I learned later that the cult had tried to help Mr. Adebayo anyway, but their plan failed. I also heard that some members went crazy, saying they were being haunted by spirits. James spent 3 years in juvenile prison. When he came out, he wasn't the same person anymore. I heard he moved to another state and never came back. Now, 14 years later, I still have nightmares. Sometimes I hear James's voice calling me, or see Mrs. Adebayo's face in mirrors. The guilt of being part of that evil group, even for a short time, stays with me. I live quietly now in a different city, working as a sales manager in a company. But when I see young people forming dangerous friendships or getting pulled into bad groups, I share my story as a warning. Some nights, when the dreams are very bad, I kneel down and pray for forgiveness. I don't know if God has forgiven me, but I'm thankful that I got out before it was too late. I'm thankful I didn't become like my other cult members. My heart may never fully heal, but it reminds me of an important truth. Real brothers don't push you to do evil things. Sometimes, the hardest but bravest thing to do is to say no to your friends when they are wrong.